Hello, parents, grandparents, future parents, and curious minds. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Steven.
And I'm PJ.
And this is
Dad's Discuss.
Damn it.
Got him.
You got me that
Got him, chat. So every time Steven likes to redo our intro to get in the mindset, and I always make funny faces across the table from him. And this time he decided to start laughing.
Held it together until the last word, you bastard.
I win. Now, I've been looking at the back of Steven's computer that we are using to record these episodes, and he has a lot of stickers on the back of it, but there's one particular sticker that is upside down from the rest, and I can't stop looking at it because all the rest of these, like at least 20 stickers, that's the only one that's upside down.
Which one is it?
It's Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
That's actually the sticker that we got from our first kid's at least first or second doctor's appointment.
Okay.
So I think it even has her age and weight on it, maybe. But
well, it's upside down.
I don't know how it ended up upside down. That was a clerical error, and my bad.
Nice.
Or you know, the 1 month old or whatever it was, put it on there. Who knows?
So as you can already tell, that this particular episode is probably going to be a little bit more loose. You know, we always try and have fun in these podcasts, but this one in our Dad's Discuss podcast is going to be about personal hobbies. So It might be a little bit more free. Might be something that we get a chance to talk about. Not so much what we do with our kids as fathers, but what we do outside of fatherhood to kind of like, you know, keep a little balance in life.
Yeah, I think it came up with a couple other topics that you've got to maintain some level of individuality when it comes to being a parent, because you're still sharing the world with your kid, and you're gonna have a unique worldview, and if you just stop growing, you're not gonna be able to share as much with them in the end. So having your own personal hobbies and your own self self-healing time or whatever, you're not gonna get to share with them your full self in the end.
Absolutely. And you know, I hope that all parents, regardless of where they are in their child's life or in their own life, take some time out of the
hustle
day,
and bustle.
week. Yeah, the hustle and bustle of being a parent to enjoy themselves or do something that helps them kind of recharge their mental and social batteries, if you will.
Yeah, so tell me about some of your hobbies there, PJ.
Probably the biggest one that I can think of is ever since I was little, I've always been really involved in bowling. I've always bowled on a league. It's just something that kind of takes my mind off of life, something I really enjoy and that I self-brag, but I'm pretty good at. So once a week, I do go to bowl in a league,
Nice.
and that's a good stress reliever. I get to, you know, hang out for the most part without the kids. Sometimes I do bring my daughter with me, but for the most part, it's a couple hours a week, just that one day where I can get away, enjoy a hobby that I love, and get to spend some time with, you know, like-minded
individuals.
Individuals, thank you. Like-minded individuals, and not have to worry as much about like the stress of being a parent.
Yeah, so you're saying you can bowl better than my average of 90, I guess.
It's a little higher than 90. I think last week when I checked, my average was sitting at 201.
Dang, that's pretty nice.
Thank you.
I wish. I've had over 200 games, but it's like very like the very first game you play and like you're fresh, and that's the best I've ever done, actually, was over 200. Just barely. I think it was like 205 or something.
Hey, that's still that's something.
It was a miraculous day, that's for sure. The rest, like I said, is pretty much average 90.
Now, that is my biggest personal hobby, though I have a few more. But how about you, Steven? What would you say your biggest personal hobby is?
Well, I would lean into the sports thing a little bit, but it's never been one true sport. I played ice hockey for a long time and then transitioned in college to ultimate frisbee, and now I, you know, am very passionate about keeping that community alive in Huntsville because I think it's very unique for the sport. And then just, you know, volunteer efforts and helping other people is another big hobby of mine, on top of this podcast as well. So a lot of individual things, keeping people together, getting the dads group together, organizing. I guess you can limit it down to organizing, because that's what the common thread with all those things go.
Okay.
It's just organization and getting people together to do good things, I guess, would be the common theme of my hobbies.
Well, in terms of time commitment, then, like, how much time per week do you feel like that takes you outside of your family responsibilities? Like, how much time are you devoting to your personal hobbies that you just mentioned?
It's such a hard metric to track, because everything we do with our kids. So, like I said, with Ultimate Frisbee, we pull them in and put them on the sideline, and they cheer for me and things like that. And I throw Frisbee with them before and after. And podcasting, I guess, isn't too much. Sometimes you bring your kid over and they play together, so that helps at least justify that hobby.
Yeah.
And then volunteering, they can most of the time help, other than, committee meetings where you have to get stuff done and whatnot.
Okay.
So...
No, that's interesting. Like I said, I have a few other personal hobbies that I didn't mention at first, but yeah, me and you doing this podcast, I would say, is definitely one of them. Hour or two a week, just something to continue our friendship, and something that I hope our listeners get something out of, but doesn't necessarily directly involve our children. They're not sitting here at the microphone with us.
Yeah, and I think I brought it up a couple times in other podcasts, but audiobooks, I guess, technically are a hobby, and exercise. So I weight lift and run a lot, and that's when I digest my audiobooks, whether it be an epic fantasy or a self-help book or sci-fi or something like that. So.
Okay. And you would say that all of these, whether that be volunteering, running, listening to audiobooks, or Ultimate Frisbee, those are very beneficial things in terms of your mental health. It's not something like, if you were to have to cut out all of those, you feel like it would be a pretty big impact in how you view.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
because I tweaked my knee with a ACL strain the other day, and I was two going on 3 months now of not being able to play Ultimate. I won't be able to go back until the spring, and it kills my mental state for a little while.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
But then you get back on track and it's okay. So, but yeah, I've been getting the exercise back in and things like that. And for a while there, I wasn't even working out, because it's always scary if you tore something or you're about to tear something to make it worse. So it's definitely, once you knock it out, it's pretty bad, but you can always involve the kids in that. So we've bought running strollers and wagons and things like that to help us keep, like, at least the exercise alive, because even mild research into the topic, one thing I read was your memory is affected by exercise even. So getting 30 minutes of cardio a day is going to help your memory so much better than anything else you can think of, sort of thing. So, like, moving and water are, like, the big mental capacity cheat codes, I guess you could say.
I can see that, and I mostly can see that from older relatives, or just older society in general, the ones who were able to remain active. And I think we even mentioned this on a previous podcast dealing with death in the family, but those of our relatives who were able to remain active in personal hobbies and exercise did tend to have stronger mental health in their elder years.
Yeah, it all kind of makes sense with the science behind it, because, when you're doing cardio, you're pushing more blood flow and you're getting that fresh oxygen to your brain and other parts of your body, so you're always going to stay in a more stable state. And you're also going to, lower your fat content and all those other things that help you stay stable throughout life. So,
yep, and
we're not built for a sedentary lifestyle.
No, we are not. No, I think reduction of cortisol levels, stress, I think unanimously between men and women, no matter the health that you are in currently, if you exercise, it just tends to reduce your cortisol levels. You feel less stressed afterwards.
Yeah, but we'll take a turn here and talk about less stress. I don't play video games anymore, and I feel more stressed.
I am sorry to hear that, Steve.
No, exercise helps, but yeah.
That's interesting. I wouldn't consider it a personal hobby, because I was pretty big into video games, as a lot of teenagers and young adults are. But
We were marketed towards as
they were,
young
yeah,
male, and yeah, we
yeah.
would.
But I have had the opportunity to get back into it, especially with my two older boys who are very much big into video games. They invite me to play with them, and I do. But also with my youngest, because she watches her brothers play occasionally, she does want me to sit down and play with her. So occasionally, like on a Saturday morning, if it's just me and her awake in the house, rather than us playing toys, she'll ask me to go turn on the PlayStation,
Oh,
and
that's
we'll either
cool.
find some type of game that she can play, such as like a motocross or racing game, or occasionally she will find something she's really big into, and I will name drop a current game, Squirrel with a Gun, that she just loves watching being
Yeah.
played, and so she wants me to sit down and play it while she interacts and like tells me where to go and stuff. So that's been something that I've really enjoyed. Like I said, wouldn't consider it a personal hobby, but has been something that I've been able to interact with my kids with.
Or has been a hobby in the past, sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I don't want. I'm not gonna subject my children to some of the video games I got into that were more hardcore level sort of things, but I do. It was really cute the other day. The middle child, or even today actually, the middle child grabbed the Switch from mom, and she was playing a Zelda game to wind down for the evening, and she just starts playing with the two joysticks and gets killed like over and over again, but she's trying to learn and figure it out because she finds it so interesting. And
That's
I'm like, you're
exciting.
only a 2 year old. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be a professional gamer in a few months.
For real. No, I do find that very intriguing. I know you mentioned Switch, and something that's still cool to me is on the racing games, being able to turn just by turning the entire
Oh,
pad.
yeah.
So my daughter really loves playing Mario Kart on the Switch, and she's pretty good at it because essentially, as long as she's pressing the gas pedal and turning, she can play the
You can
game.
finish the game,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so watching her develop into playing games, she has started playing board games too, which
Oh,
used to be
wow.
a huge personal hobby of mine, not so
Yeah.
much anymore. Watching her interact and how she like learns to play is a really cool to me.
Well, it sounds like we need a family game night with
We
some board
absolutely
games.
do.
Then.
Oh man, board games is one of the personal hobbies that I'm not involved in now, but do really
Yeah,
miss.
you just need to cross that wall over there, and you'll see my board game collection
Yep,
gathering dust, waiting for the kids to be old enough to play it.
exactly. Yep. Now, Candyland is pretty much the extent of where we are right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we'll get there.
Haven't moved on to Risk yet.
not, no, not Risk. We're not playing Carcassonne.
Our oldest is interested in. I haven't played it with her, but the match game where you try and match things.
Like matching
To
tiles and stuff. Yeah.
So I
Okay.
need to play that with her. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but they had this little bluey game that spins a balloon around and you gotta tap it up and not lose points. And they love the concept of the practical feel, but I don't think they still understand how scoring and things like that works. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
that's true. That's true.
That may come at a later date, I'm sure.
In terms of personal hobbies, though, I guess the way I had originally intended this podcast to go is this would be like the types of hobbies that we do that don't necessarily involve other
Yeah.
people. But you did bring up a good point that most of our lives are centered around our family, our kids. So there are going to be aspects to any hobby that pull them in, even though you may consider it a personal hobby. Your
Yeah.
family may be there to support you, such as like in an ultimate game, or
Yep.
if it's playing video games and you're getting your kids involved. It's a personal hobby to you, but you're bringing them in,
Yeah.
letting them experience that.
I agree. I mean, I know several parents that are in Ultimate Frisbee, and I don't know if any of them listen to this, but they come to Ultimate as their outlet for their personal hobby. And I don't know if I've seen their family there, but once or twice, sort of thing.
Okay.
And so, but I'm not that way. I'm like, bring the kids. And I do feel bad sometimes because I get so into the game that I forget they exist sometimes. And luckily, mom comes too, so she'll take care of them. I'm not worried about it. The times I've had to bring him solo, though, I take myself out of the game and just yell at people from the sidelines. So.
I understand.
But yeah, it's personal for a reason, right? I mean, we talked about a little bit in the past about how you grow as a person, and my hobbies have changed along with that. Like, I used to be a very redneck nature boy back in the day, but then I grew out of that. Now I consider myself more of a city boy.
Really,
So
this
I
is
don't.
this is interesting, and I am going to drop a random fact that I don't think Steven will mind. When he got married, his bachelor trip involved us going camping, and yeah, well, I probably haven't camped since then.
Yeah, I
So
think I've only been once since then, and it makes me
exactly,
sad. But it was definitely considered a transition period there, I guess, because got married and started having kids. So I want to take my kids camping and roughing it and stuff. I know my wife probably won't come with, but unless we get her a hotel down the road, and then the kids are gonna be like, "Dad, I don't want to be in this tent. I want to go down there.
yeah, right.
I'm gonna go stay in the hotel with mom." But
Why is she swimming in the pool and we're out here looking at the trees?
yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. I like connecting with nature, but it hasn't happened in a while. I think it will go okay. Maybe I can reconnect with that hobby someday. I know I bought a mountain bike a while back to try and recapture some of that with some of our friends that like to mountain bike, and we were going to do some bike packing trips, but kids don't let you get away, so
Yeah, no,
we haven't done it yet.
you brought up a good point though. Like some of your hobbies can be great ways to continue to maintain existing friendships. Even if it's just an hour or two a week, just something where you and your friends can get together, do an activity you
True.
enjoy, and just kind of relieve stress, and also allow you and any other parents to kind of like just take a break from the day to day grind of everyday
Yeah.
life.
Otherwise, you get lost in the minutia, and you start to really wonder if you're a human anymore.
You do, and that brings me to another thing as well. So we mentioned personal hobbies and what we do sometimes to kind of like relieve that stress, get out of the minutia, which I still don't understand what that means, but you use that term a lot, so I'm glad. Also, being there for your spouse. So occasionally there are times where I know that they need a little break, or they have an activity that they would like to do, a personal hobby of theirs, and being there to say like, you know what, you and your friend, you said you wanted to go shopping for a couple hours, go antiquing. Kimber really likes to do. So take a couple hours, go antiquing. I got the kids here at the house. You
Yeah.
go out and enjoy yourself. So having personal hobbies, but also being there to allow your spouse to enjoy their personal hobbies as well.
Right. And I think that's been something really hard for us because we're so invested in our kids that we wanna only do that sort of thing, and we don't realize that we need an alone time hobby, sort of passion project, sort of geared.
Yeah, that's funny because
Anyways,
all right, I forget where we were. Well, this will be a nice little musical middle number here.
yeah, we were just talking about spouses and letting them do their own
Yes.
thing and getting lost and giving each other personal space and time and to reflect and things like that.
So, Stephen, you mentioned personal space and having a little bit of alone time, and that's interesting to me in that when I consider personal hobbies, it's more of like a personal thing, something that I do or something that my spouse does individually to kind of like de-stress things that we enjoy separately. I didn't really consider the fact that you could potentially have a personal hobby that you and your spouse enjoy
Together.
without the kids, and it not being like going on a date or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Could be going out to football games consistently or hockey games or whatever.
Yeah, and usually
cheering
those
someone
type
on
of activities for us involve the whole family, but both me and my wife do enjoy an occasional drink, and so it usually involves a date, but just taking an hour or two to get away, go to a nice bar. There's a prohibition style bar here in Huntsville that we love going to. Doing something like that. Wouldn't necessarily consider it a personal hobby, but it's something that we do together rather than something that we do separately.
Right. Yeah, so it's just things to keep in mind when you're, trying to grow as a couple and things like that.
Yeah.
You can have individual friend groups and interests and things like that, but you should still have stuff together that you find interesting and fun.
Yeah.
Like wine tasting for us, or she does play ultimate frisbee. I don't think she's as passionate about it, but she likes the exercise.
Okay.
So what else is
Yeah,
there?
no, keeping
Yeah.
that balance, as you mentioned, so Catherine apparently plays ultimate frisbee. I think if I were to legitimately ask Kimber, would you come bowling with me? She would say yes, but she would just sit behind it and watch. That's my thing, and she knows
Yeah.
that kind of the same thing. There's occasionally activities that she goes
Yeah.
and enjoys with her friends that I'm not interested in doing. I want that to be her time. If
Right.
she asked me to accompany, I might, but I don't think that it would be something that I would jump on
Yeah.
the chance to do.
Yeah, just ways to keep yourself as an individual, right? But if they enjoy it, they enjoy it. Like we played video games together for a little while too, so that was nice. And then I don't. She doesn't like bike riding, so that doesn't apply very well. But other than that, and I don't like swimming, so she loves swimming, and that's her personal hobby. So
Okay.
I know it's a lot of exercise oriented things, but that's just kind of the easiest hobby to latch onto. I don't know if there's anything else from us. She loves to read physical books. I said earlier I like to do audiobooks. So
Okay.
that's kind of where we differ in the reading world.
No, that's interesting you mentioned that, because even though I am involved in the Dads Discuss podcast with you, and I thoroughly enjoy this, I still have yet to find an appreciation to listening to podcasts, and I don't.
Oh, yeah.
But Kimber loves them, and one of her hobbies, I would say, is podcast, to the point that she will put on a podcast on speaker while she's just putting on her makeup or something, just as
Nice.
like something to listen to. I don't listen
So
to podcasts
what I'm hearing
like that.
is she's our number one fan. Is that what you're saying?
If she listens
She's
to this
heard
one,
every
I don't
episode?
know if she's tuned in yet. I think she actually told me that this is something that she wants to be between us, and she may not actually want to hear it. Now, does Catherine listen to us?
Only the episodes I tell her to listen
Oh,
to make
okay,
sure
all
that
right.
she hears the rough cut, though, to make sure I didn't forget to cut something. If I'm like, hey, that was a bit of a spicy episode, I'm gonna need you to make sure I didn't screw something up.
I understand.
So other than that, she's the same mentality. You guys do your thing, and hopefully you have fun with it, and she supports it.
Yeah, and having that support too, having that life balance, but being able to support you. And I know that we're kind of slightly tangenting off, but I hope all of our listeners are in a position in their life with their spouses and their kids and everything. But I hope that you find that balance of being a good parent, being a good dad, being a good husband, and allowing that personal space that may be needed for both you and your wife or your spouse to maintain that mental clarity and that positive outlook. It is so tempting to fall into the trap of survivability, if you will. And I'm just going day to day, and I just need to make it to the next day. We've mentioned this before, but anyone who is feeling that way, I encourage you to reach out to the proper channels to get the help that you need through friends, therapy, anything like that. Because life requires balance, and personal hobbies, in my opinion, are certainly a part of that.
Yeah, and you'll find out in life that people want to help. So if it's a matter of having someone come watch your kids for an hour or something while you decompress or go have a drink with your bestie, don't forget to ask. Because while you might feel like it's a burden on someone else, they may be happy to do it, and you can always compensate them.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but in terms of spouses, make sure that if you have a personal hobby that you really enjoy, make sure that you are telling your spouse that you want to be there for them, so that they can have that opportunity too. Like I said, hey, why don't you go out, do something you want to do? I've got the kids for a couple hours, take that time to de-stress or just do what you need to do. Yeah. But just letting them know, that having that open communication so that they know that you are there for them and that they are there for you.
Yeah, I agree. Not much more to say on that. That pretty much some Masons. Dadgummit. Summarizes a good relationship. good relationship advice on personal hobbies. And I think that's a good way to keep the episode pretty short because I don't know if I have much more on keeping the personal hobbies alive.
No, I like I said, as a parent, I do have personal hobbies, but they're few and far between. Bowling being my biggest one, but I encourage all of our listeners to continue to have a hobby or multiple hobbies, whether that be something you do individually or something you do with your spouse or your friends. But just keep that balance in life.
Yeah. And don't drink and drive.
Thank you for coming to today's TED Talk.
No. I just say that because some people's hobbies is, I mean, obviously that was one of ours when we dated as a couple is we would go at least once a week to a new bar and make friends with the bartender and get to know him and get a specialty cocktail and have a good night and go back home, whether it be in an Uber or sober up with a lot of water.
Something that me and my wife have talked about decently in depth. We really enjoyed going on different distillery tours. We really enjoy a good whiskey and bourbon, and once the time is right, I can easily see us becoming. Wow, that's not a word. Easily see us getting involved in a hobby together of starting a distillery. Yeah,
Yeah.
Even if it be something small, like we just have a small copper pot still in our garage that we, produce a bottle or two, just something to do because we really do enjoy that, and I think the science behind it is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so something that I hope in the future we can get involved in together is to start distilling something, moonshine, bourbon, anything.
Yeah, just don't try and sell it.
Exactly.
Then you're going to have to get your
Without
license.
the proper channels.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I would look for, I mean, you've seen my whiskey collection, so if you ever make whiskey, I'll add it to the
Thank
specialty.
you. Yes.
That would be pretty fun. I like the process too. I mean, my wife is a chemical engineer by trade and by heart at the same time, so she's always found wineries and distilleries and things like that fascinating, and breweries too, obviously.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
any of that, I could see being a side hobby for her one day down the road. But I mean, at least in the whiskey game, that's like the game of patience. Like
It
you don't
is.
get a good
Absolutely,
product
it is.
in Alabama until probably like 6 or 8 years.
Yep, and when you tell me, because I'm not as much into wine as I am other types of liquors, but after you go through the distillation process, how long do you usually sit on a barrel or bottle of wine before it's ready to be consumed?
I mean, it all depends on what you're trying to get out of it, but I don't think wine sits nearly as long as whiskey to get a good flavor because you're not aging it for a ton of time. I mean, you can age it for as long as you want, but I'm trying to think back to my favorite blends and things like that, and there's nothing like the whiskey world where it's like 10
Age
plus
7 years.
years.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I buy a bottle of wine in the store and it'll be like, produced in the same year or like the
Yeah.
previous year. So, couple months.
Right.
Yep.
I think you do have some of the ones like the Camus 50-year anniversary. I think they let that sit in their barrels for like 2 or 3 years or something, like maybe even more, just to get like a special flavor for their 50th. So they were like, we're allocating this many barrels and our 50th anniversary, we're going to use them, sort of thing. But other than that, I don't think you let wine sit for I want to say at minimum a year is good enough.
Okay.
But then, like, it's great for a lot of the whiskey community because then they take like those port barrels or those
Yeah, they do,
cab
and then use
barrels and they
them.
finish them in them, and then you get unique whiskey out of the barrel, basically.
Oh yeah, and I could talk a whole podcast on that because even though it's not a hobby of mine yet, I hope that it does become one. But we do have friends who are involved in at least the brewery process. Brewing your own beer, and that certainly a big hobby to them. So what's
until they sell off their product,
right? So what's interesting to me is just the sheer diversity of personal hobbies that people can be involved in.
Right.
There's not like a one and done type of mentality. There's so many different things that you can get involved in if you're interested.
And I think we talked about it in the past a little bit of, you can be in the world of vast possibilities and billions of people. You can get into one subject and that be your life's work. Or you can get into thousands of subjects and understand them a little bit. And it's such a cool way to live through life.
It is. But then you also come to the reality of, wow, the vast amount of knowledge that could be obtained, and I have barely scratched the surface. As you learn about anything, you tend to understand that the amount of knowledge that you have gained, while great, is just insignificant almost compared to just how much information there is out there.
Right. Like I can tell you right down to I'd play-by-play on Ultimate Frisbee Trails on what's going to happen, but how much of that is in the terabytes of information in the world. It's probably like a gig of information.
It's crazy. It really is. And it kind of makes you introspective a little bit just in how much information there is out there and how much you have been able to acquire yourself.
Yeah. Which is why I appreciate my skills as a jack of all trades and master of none, because at least I get exposed to a lot of things.
I love that phrase because I'd never heard it until you mentioned it, but it's so true.
And there's nothing against being a master of one or two things. You need those in the world, but you do need jack of all trades too. So it's a fun world to live in, and keeping your personal hobbies alive is definitely a way to stay in touch with yourself.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that I hope we can get across to all of our listeners, regardless of where they are in life, is, fatherhood can be stressful from personal experience and also seeing experiences of friends and family, but maintaining that positive outlook if you can, keeping the balance in life so that you can be fully invested in being there for your children. So if personal hobbies are something that mean a lot to you, don't let that slip away. Even if it's just an hour or two a week, just find something that you can use to help yourself, de-stress and not lose your individual personality.
Yeah, call the in-laws in or a friend in to help your spouse, or just ask for the time. Put it on the calendar and say, I need this sort of thing. But don't abuse it.
Absolutely, yeah. Put it on the calendar. That's funny you mentioned that, because I remember in the past you talked about how you had a shared Google Calendar and help keep track of everything.
Yeah. It is bloated. Good talk. I don't know if I have anything more. Stay happy, stay healthy, make wise choices.
Yeah, I appreciate all of our listeners and invite you all to like and subscribe. We'll keep this one short, and we'll see you guys next time.
And if this comes out at the right time, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Or Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Or if it comes out later,
Happy January.
Yeah. See y'all next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Dad's Discuss.
Please like and subscribe wherever you are listening.
Also, comment any topics you would like us to discuss and share with your friends and family.
Finally, if you would like to be on the podcast or discuss any topics, please reach out via our contact information below.